Hey everybody, this is Nichole Pascal with Topaz Labs. Thanks so much for joining me this evening or morning, wherever you are. Today we're going to be taking our first sneak peek into the new Topaz Adjust 5. So welcome. We're really excited about this upgrade. I do want to answer a couple of generic questions up front. I want to let you know that if you are an owner of Topaz Adjust, any version, this will be a free upgrade, as always, to you. We have never charged for an upgrade, so it is free to you, and we'll give those upgrade instructions when the release actually happens of Adjust 5. And speaking of the release, we are planning on releasing it sometime tentatively next week, so just keep an eye out for that. I'll give you the address to sign up for our newsletter, so you'll be one of the first people to hear about it if you would like to sign up. If you have any questions along the way, Ashley Robinson, our product manager, will be answering those for you. You can just type them into your questions module on your GoToWebinar panel, and she'll be answering as many as she can. She has lightning fingers, I like to say. And then I'll answer a few at the end as well. So again, this is just a sneak peek. You're going to be looking at a beta version today. And we're not going to be going over workflows necessarily, just showing you some of the new tools and some of the new capabilities within Adjust. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I will be using Photoshop CS5 as a host here today, but you're also able to use Adjust and the rest of our products in Photoshop Elements, Lightroom, Aperture, iPhoto, Paint Shop Pro, quite a few others as well. You can look at the compatibility page on our website to see all of the different programs that we are compatible with. So within Photoshop, the way that you get to our plugins is coming up to the filter menu and then just scrolling down to Topaz Labs and Topaz Adjust 5 now. Now, one great thing to start off with Topaz Adjust 5, as I click Topaz Adjust 5, you'll notice over here in the Layers palette that we now have a Auto Create layer, which has been requested by so many people who use Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, and we're happy to now have that. All right, so when you go into Topaz Adjust 5, you'll notice the interface is quite different. However, it's very similar to the new Topaz black and white effects. So if you're an owner of black and white effects, you'll be quite familiar with this type of interface. Now, you'll notice that some sort of adjustment was actually applied to my image as I brought it in. That is something that has happened with all of our products along the way. It's just the most previously or the previous used settings. So to get that to go away, you just come over here and press Reset All, and you'll have your original image. So let's just go over a few of the interface changes and additions, and then we'll look into the actual tools that are available for you to work with. Now, over here on the left, we still have our preset panel. It's just a little bit different, and again, if you have lens effects or black and white effects, it might seem pretty familiar. Up here at the top, we still have our preset preview. When you scroll over our presets, you'll see that change and give you a little indication of what that preset will look like when applied to your image, and you're able to hide that if you do not want to see that. Now, because we are adding over 100 new presets to Topaz Adjust, we have decided to categorize our presets to make it a little bit easier to find the preset you're looking for. So we do have our effects box here, and we have several different collections, and then below that we have all the presets that go in those collections. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a minute, I really like my Adjust 4 preset list, I just want to work with that specifically. We have included the Adjust 4 preset list within the effects area, so you can just click right on that and you'll see the familiar presets from Adjust 4. Now, most of those Adjust 4 presets have been copied and put into different collections, and then again we have 100 new presets. Some of those presets are not included in this beta version, but they will be in the release version. So in this first classic collection, you're going to find presets that are pretty mild, I guess you could say. They still have a great popping effect for your image, but it's not going to be over the top or really stylistic necessarily. So we have some brilliance presets, some cool tones, warm tones. One of my personal favorites, Photo Pop, is included in here. Here's before. Here's after, just a little pop to your image. I love that preset. Then we have our Vibrant collection. The Vibrant collection, as you can see, has some presets that are much stronger and add quite a bit of pop to your image. So all different sorts of presets within here. We have new ones. We also have some classic ones like Specify, which is one of Topaz's favorites as well. Below that you'll see HDR collection. We only have a few presets in here, but they go from a light HDR to a more heavy-handed type of HDR effect. Then we have film collection, and here you're going to find several different types of film looks, whether it's a more cross-processed type of look. That's a bit strong for this particular image. We also have some bleach bypass, which looks great on certain images. A lomography film type of look. More retro styles that are reminiscent of the 1960s type of faded look. And then we also have heavy-handed grunge, grainy effects. And we'll go into all the new types of tools that we now have to create this type of look. Then we have a stylized collection, and that is extreme for this particular image. That's our new Blueprint preset, which looks great on architecture, but is a little crazy on this one. We now have something called Dusk, which can give you that dusk type of look, the twilight type of look, and many more other more stylized presets that go beyond just the pop that Topaz Adjust can give you. Again, we do have this Adjust For preset list, and we have something called My Collection. My Collection is going to include your user-made presets, and you're able to save them in this My Collection, so you can always find your user-made presets, because if you save them within the other effects, it might be kind of hard to find. So we wanted to provide this for you, again, for organizational type of purposes. Now down here, we still have our menu button, but we do have some additional preferences in here that I think you will like. This is where you can enable or disable your auto create layer function, which is by default enabled. So if you don't like the auto create layer, you can just disable it by unchecking it here. We also have interactive sliders now. So if you check interactive sliders, you will see that your slider, as you move it, your image will show that adjustment in time. This works for most systems. Some systems it doesn't, and some people don't like it, so we wanted to make that an option. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that, press Reset All, and let's get to maybe a Vibrant collection. We'll go with the Autumn preset. Within our main area here, we still have the Before and After tabs, which you can use still with your left mouse button or your space bar to toggle back and forth between your before and after. But we also have included within Adjust 5 the ability to split your screen. So now if you want to look at the before and after side by side, it's very easy to do so. You can just click on that icon right up at the top right, maybe even press Fit, and you can see your before image on the left and your after on the right. I really like this function just to see how far you've taken your image and really what Adjust has done for you. So I'm going to go back to the main screen for now. Okay, so over here on the right, it's still going to be our adjustment panel, but we have ordered the workflow in a way that just makes a bit more sense, especially with everything that we've added into the tool set. And then up here on the top, we still have the Preview Navigator. The Preview Navigator, it shows you with the red box exactly what you are looking at, and you can zoom in with your zoom buttons. You can go 1-to-1 to look at everything at 100%, or press Fit to see the entire image within your screen. Now we have added a histogram tab here in this little area. So you can click on that and you can actually see your histogram and evaluate the tonal ranges within your image. I really like that. Okay, I'm going to go back to Navigate. We still have our undo, redo, and snap buttons. The snap, of course, takes pictures of your adjustment panel as you're working on your image. So you're able to, let's say, snap here. Let's say I go to my summer preset. I take another snap. Let's go to my winter preset. I take another snap. And now I can toggle back and forth between all of my snaps and decide what looks best. You can also press the undo and redo. We do have our adjustment panel, which we're about to go over, but I wanted to show you this. This is really important. If you are an owner of Topaz Lens Effects, or if you played around with it, you might have noticed that we had added an apply button. This was highly requested for some of our other programs, including Adjust, so we definitely wanted to give you this. When you press the apply button, it's going to apply the adjustments that you have made to your main image and make that your base image. So then you can move on and continue to apply certain other presets or other adjustments to that base image. So it's a really great way to possibly add a cool tone and then move on to a film collection without having to go in here and work with the adjustments, and it just allows you to stay within this particular interface longer. You don't have to go in and make several different adjust layers, so we really like that too. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on into all of the different tools we now have available for you. We have ordered this or changed the workflow just a bit, and again, black and white effects owners will notice this is very similar. This is going to be a 3-step workflow. The first step is going to be your global adjustments. When you click on this button, what will pop up are several different adjustment tabs, and then it all having to do with your global adjustments. And then when you open up each adjustment tab, that's where you'll find your parameters. So within the global adjustments, we have the 4 steps that were in Topaz Adjust 4, which was adaptive exposure, details, color, and noise. So all of those familiar parameters are still there and still the core of Topaz Adjust. Now, if you're unfamiliar with black and white effects, I want to show you a few tools that are just great. The first one being these little check marks next to each of the tabs. What they're going to do is take off for example, if I uncheck this checkbox next to the adaptive exposure, it's going to take off all of the adaptive exposure adjustments that I have made to this image. So it's great just to see the before and after of certain images. I'm not sure what happened with my color there. That's interesting. Again, this is beta, so we'll look into that. But let's go down here to details. The same thing. If you take it off and back on, you can see the before and after just of your details without having to go back to the completely original image. So it is a very nice tool. Also, we have this little reset button that's specifically for the detail or whatever tab you are in. So if you press this, it's going to take all of your parameters back to their default settings just for that particular adjustment tab. So you don't have to come down and actually press reset all for the entire adjustment area. So that's really nice. Another addition, let's just talk about the additions to Adjust 5. One of the additions is the curve tool. Now we do have some default curve tools in here for you. So you can choose, let's say, strong contrast, and you'll notice it's applied to your image, and a curve is applied to your actual curve tool down here. Now you can also come into the curve tool and actually move it around yourself, make some additional points, whatever needs to happen for your image, and then if you want to reset all and start over just on your curves, you can just press this reset button to get back to your straight curve. Very simple curve tool that is very effective. Another exciting thing about Topaz Adjust 5, I'm actually going to grab a different image to talk about this new feature, is the selective adjustments. Selective adjustments is something that we introduced within black and white effects, and we just loved it so much that we thought we definitely need to bring it into Adjust. So let's apply just a quick preset. Let's go to our something pretty heavy for this one, because I want to show you exactly what you can do. One of our heavier presets is this psychedelic preset, so I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that he definitely pops now. Here's before and here's after. Again, this is just the psychedelic preset. But let's say you get to this point, or you get to this preset, and you like certain things about it, such as maybe you like your actual character here, but you don't like the background. Well, it's very easy now to actually brush out the effect in certain areas. So not only are you able to dodge, burn, and smooth areas, but you're now able to actually brush out an effect. Very quickly, again, this isn't really about the workflow, just kind of showing you the steps, and we're running low on time already, so let me just show you just a few quick little things here. With this particular local adjustment area, you have several different brush controls. Brush size is pretty apparent, opacity, pretty normal. You can actually keep in part of the effect, so if we wanted to just take out 50%, we can leave it at 0.5. The hardness of your brush, again, which you can see as you move up and down, your hardness changes. And then whether or not it's edge aware. I'm going to keep it edge aware just to show you how cool this really is. If you take your edge aware down to 0, it means your brush is just a normal brush. It'll be a very it won't actually detect the edges of anything in your image. But if you take it up to 1, it's completely edge aware, and as long as your crosshairs stay on a certain color, it's not going to affect, even if your brush, like you can see, is over other areas of your image. It's detecting the edges and not affecting where it needs to go. So I'm not going to go into show you completely just because we don't really have the time, but I definitely wanted to give you a little idea here. Let me show you before and after. Just keep an eye around. I took some of the effect out of the tree, so let me just bring that back. But notice, even though my brush was over my bird, his feathers, his all of his adjustments were not changed at all. So some really cool possibilities within this local adjustment brush for Adjust. I really like to use it on skin and skies as well, because Adjust is known, especially if you go for a stronger preset, to kind of blow out or over process clouds and skies or some skin. It starts to give a harsher effect. So that brush out is great for that. Now when you open up the last step here of the workflow, finishing touches, these are all new to Topaz Adjust. We have diffusion, which will allow you to create a softer type of glow around your around the lighted areas of your image. It's really nice for some portraits and beautiful on certain landscapes. We have added the ability to add grain to your image. If you open, well, I just checked that, and the default was applied here. It's some pretty heavy grain, actually. Let me uncheck my local adjustment so it comes back, and you can see that fully in effect. When you open up your grain grain tab, you can go from a completely black and white grain to a more colored grain, which you would find in more colored film. It does start to take on some sort of a noise effect at times, though, and you might want to take some of that color out, so you're able to do that quite easily. It's best if you look at your grain at 1:1, just because that is exactly how it's going to be applied to your image. And then you can change your grain contrast and make it much more obvious, or take it down and make it a much finer, less obvious grain. And then you can change your grain size as well, again, just to control. Let me take my contrast up so you can see the grain size. Just to give you different looks, some heavier grain and some much lighter grain. Then we have my favorite here. I can't tell you how many times I have made adjustments within Topaz Adjust and then gone back into Photoshop and said, whoa, that is a little bit too strong. it just felt too strong, so then I adjust the opacity of my adjust layer within Photoshop. Well, now we have our transparency. With our transparency tab, you are able to, 0 is going to give you the full effect, and then as you move your transparency slider up, it's going to make your effect more transparent. So if you really like the pop, say, of this psychedelic preset, but it's just too heavy for you, but you don't want to bother going in and changing all of the adjustments of the adaptive exposure, etc., you may just want to come into your transparency slider, take it up to 0.5, and all of a sudden you have an image that's still popping and it's still taking those exposure adjustments and really balancing out everything without the over-processed look that that psychedelic preset can sometimes do for your image. So here's before, here's after. There's still a ton of effect on this, but it's with this transparency slider you really have you don't have to worry about that opacity on your layers within Photoshop so much. This warmth slider is very cool too. Let's go to another preset as we continue with this guy. Let's just go to boost. Okay, so this warmth slider is going to do exactly what it says. It's going to be able to warm up your image, but it's also going to be able to cool down your image. As you move it to the right, it actually warms up your image in a very nice way. For some images it can be, you can go really extreme with it, or you can be very subtle with it as well. Here's before, here's before, here's after. Let's go to one that doesn't have any warmth to show you this. Maybe just a little photo pop here. Okay, so here's a little bit of warmth added to your image, and then you can also add some cooling to your image. So some nice possibilities there just to change the overall feeling of your image. Then we have borders. You can select your border color with the select color area, or you can do what I like to do here. I like to use this new color picker. It allows me to pick from my image. It'll turn my cursor into an eyedropper, and let's say I want the pink of his beak here, and just click on that. Then all of a sudden my border is that color. Then I can change the size of my border and get it exactly where I want. And voila, you have a border. We also have the ability to add a vignette now. So if you want to add a vignette, and let's just take our vignette size down. Everything is, again, this is beta. The default values are set at kind of crazy settings right now, but we'll figure that out. Not a big deal. So if I wanted a stronger vignette, I can add that just to show you the capabilities here. I can change the size, and then the transition, and then the curvature goes from a more rectangular feel to an oval feel. So you have several different choices within that vignette. That's new. Lastly, we also have tone. Some people might recognize this as the quad tone type of look that is with Topaz black and white effects. So let's just click on it here. This was really used to make a lot of these presets that are over here on the left. So it's a great thing to use, but sometimes on a color image, tone can start to get a little bit overbearing. So using this quad tone effect, oops, I believe my local adjustments are back on. There we go. And now I applied it. Whoops. When you press that apply button, just know that that's going to make that your base image and it's going to stick. So that's one thing that's very good to know about that apply button. Okay, so let's reset all and go to our tone again. Just going to click on that, the default value. And then we have this tone strength slider. It allows you to add more tone into your image or less tone into your image. So even if you add just a little bit of tone, it might add some warmth or some coolness, just a little bit of effect there. So everybody, thank you so much for coming to the first sneak peek of Topaz Adjust 5. I hope you see some things in here that are going to be really valuable to you in your workflow. We really tried to provide as much as we could for you within this new program and organize it in a much more professional and more sequential type of way. So I'm going to answer a few questions here in the next few minutes. Flo asks a question that I kind of just went over, but I do want to re-say. She says, can you go back and readjust a preset once you hit apply, or is it committed? So I think we just showed, as I had to get out of the program completely and then come back in on a separate layer. It is committed. Once you press apply, that becomes your base image. You're not able to go back. So that's one thing to know about apply and to be aware of. Great question. Okay, let's see here. Brian asks, do the borders come back onto their own layer in Photoshop or on the same layer as Adjust? They come back on the same layer as Adjust. The borders are not going to be a separate layer. So whatever you see within the interface as you're working on your image, so let's say we add a black border, take that size down. That black border is going to be on the layer that you bring back into your host. Martin asks, are finishing touches part of a preset save? Yes, they are, Martin. So let's see here. Let's go to something that definitely uses some of these. Let's go to these more. Okay, so this is the Vintage Grunge 2 preset. And as I open up my finishing touches, I can tell right away what has been used for these particular, or for this particular image. I know that tone was used. I can see, just uncheck it and check it back to see exactly how it was applied. And then if I want to go in and manipulate it, I can open it up and work with it there. With the vignette as well. So it's real simple to see exactly what's applied, and yes, they are saved with your preset save. The only thing that is not saved when you click save for your preset or a local or a user-made preset, it's going to be your local adjustments. So your local adjustments, whatever changes you've made within this particular menu, will not be saved as a preset, because the next image that you bring in to work with that preset and you apply that preset is going to be a different image with a different local adjustments need. It's not going to necessarily be this image. So we don't want to save the local adjustments since they are local. I want to go ahead and announce once more that this is going to be a free upgrade, everybody, okay? So if you have a Topaz Adjust, any version from the past, this is a free upgrade to you. So thanks again, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful evening or morning or day, and join us again. Thanks for coming. Bye, everybody.